with Navy tomorrow. Oh, hey team.
What's going on, everybody?
We have this beautiful little scenery here today because we're outside Petco Park, and we were going to be broadcasting live from inside Petco Park. Turns out day game today in San Diego. So instead, we're basically we see people not understanding what's going on. Maybe you've talked to a specialist, maybe you haven't, but we're going to be breaking this stuff down. And live from Petco Park, the low back fix coming at you.
Who's out there on the internet watching?
Molly, are you here?
Say your name.
Say hello to us.
Say your name. Show your name.
Say.
And tell us where you're from.
Yeah. So we're going to kick this fun thing off today. We're going to be releasing an article tomorrow. On top of that, Dr. T and I, one of the big things we're going to be talking about during this Facebook Live is going to be the breath. So tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning, Dr. T and I are going to be diving into this big piece on the breath, right? So her and I, if you were to roll the clock back a little bit, if you hear some traffic going by, it's because that's the trespassing part. We're not really trespassing, we're just outside Petco. If you were to roll the clock back 4 years ago, before the low back fix even existed, you would know that this awesome lady to my right here is not just a PT, but she was also my mindfulness coach, and was somebody that was really important to me. It still is, but was really important in me kind of learning about this breathwork piece, how we can incorporate it into fitness programs. And there goes my phone.
It's okay.
This is how things roll sometimes.
The phone got excited.
Yeah. And you will have kind of known that when I was struggling with some things, I turned to Dr. T to learn about this breathwork piece. And some of the struggles, if you have read her book, Warrior, you will have known a little bit of her story and how she was overcoming some adversity. And one of the biggest pieces is I've been in gyms and I have worked out hard. I have competed at regionals 4 times. I've trained over 70 clients that have played CrossFit at a very high level, gone to the regional and the games and all these pieces. And at some point I kind of hit this wall of learning, and as intense as I could be and train people, there was this other side to life, this more yin, slower side of things that was really calling my name. I kind of learned everything that I needed in my growth of what I was learning, and I really needed to fill in the pieces on the other side of this like yin yang intensity and down regulation spectrum. Insert Dr. T, yours truly, and it was kind of my entrance into all of this. So tomorrow at 8:30, we're going to film and go live and kind of walk you through our breath practice, what it means to us, some of the hang-ups that we've had in the past. And it's been a 2-year journey for me, Dr. T even longer, and we're not perfect. It's something that we struggle with and we are constantly involved and working on. But it's also something that separates us in the program that we are interested in providing to you guys, and not just slamming weights and intensity and trying to heal you guys one crack at a time. It's about a process. And the one of the most interesting things about breathing to me is the emotional and kind of that stability piece that it provides to you, where you can center yourself. It's constant, the back pain that's going on, frustrated with all these events that are outside of you. We can really hone in on the most basic, fundamental piece of movement, which is expanding your diaphragm, learning how to breathe properly into your belly, and then we can start to layer things on top. Like this mobility and stability piece is all reliant on the most fundamental things in movement, which is how are you breathing? So that's going to be piece number 1. You can join us tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. We're going to host a little breath session. The next piece, we're going to talk about backs today. Dr. T's seen only about 4 billion patients that come in saying they have back problems. What they don't realize is it's not their back. Huge misconception. And then the final piece is balance. We've been working on the single leg deadlift stuff, putting out a ton of information on balance, and we're just going to hold the phone like this now because I don't know what's going on with my tripod. But talking about, yeah, it's broken. There's a little piece there.
Okay.
But this balance piece, we've been working on it a ton, talking about all the benefits of it, and we're going to do it. So tell me, Doc, I am your average Joe. I'm working on some fitness. I'm trying to lose some weight. I want to learn about my body, but I got back pain. Misconception number 1, I hurt my back. 3, 2, 1, go.
So
the most loaded question ever.
So if you hurt your back, so that's most likely where the pain is. So oftentimes people complain of low back pain. That's one of the most common things. It's usually, so that's where the pain is, but that's not where the cause of the problem is. Pain problem, low back, yes, but cause is elsewhere. So we need to look at, how does your back move, right? How do you pick things off the ground? How do you squat? How do you push and pull? How do you carry things? Is it primarily initiating movements with your low back? Your low back didn't just become painful overnight. Well, actually, I take that back. It might have become painful overnight, but the cause of how it became painful overnight is not, it didn't happen just overnight. It took months and months and sometimes years. And I think that's where people get caught up, is they get caught up in this diagnosis of, I have a back problem, it just happened, and I woke up and it happened, I picked up that 3-ounce pillow and it happened. I guarantee you, it's not your bed, it's not that 3-ounce pillow, it's how you moved before, the years before, the months before, and so people need to understand that movement is our life, and so how you move matters. So oftentimes with the back, what happens is that's an area that needs stability. You need control of movement. And because that chest area gets super stiff, limited from sitting, poor movement patterns, the hips get stiff, so above and below, thoracic spine, hips, because those areas get really stiff, the low back has to move more, and it's not supposed to move more, so it starts to stiffen. It starts to protect, it starts to guard. So then you start to think, all right, maybe you're a chiropractor, maybe you're a doctor, maybe your PT says stretch more, stretch those hamstrings. Well, maybe stretching is the very thing that's hurting you more because that guarding is there for a reason and you haven't fixed the cause. Perhaps it's hip internal rotation, perhaps it's hip external rotation, perhaps it's thoracic rotation extension. Perhaps it's all of those. Is actually going to calm down, and honestly it's the brain telling the low back there's a threat. So you need to be able to believe that you can heal, that you can stabilize that low back, but you have to fix the above and below area first. Now, going into chronic pain, because a lot of people that come on our program have chronic pain. That's more than 3 months of having pain. Well, how you experience that back pain and for how long depends on how chronic the issue is. So 3 months or more, plus if it's a trauma, if it's something that's, happened in a very intense time of your life. Well, you're not gonna, even if you were to fix the cause, and here's the interesting thing, even if you were to fix your thoracic mobility, your hip mobility, maybe you even had to get surgery, right? And you're thinking that's gonna fix my problem. Your brain has to believe that that low back is healthy and okay. And until that happens, it comes from a belief center. You have to believe it, and your brain has to know there's no threat. So you have to know that you can heal yourself. And until you understand that, you're gonna be in pain.
So you brought up a really awesome word that I love talking to clients about, and I also get some dumbfounded looks when I hear, but the guarding piece. And we mentioned a little bit of this. Molly, if you can put up the link to the ebook. Everybody can get in, download the ebook, and we talk a lot about this guarding piece, but our brains are designed to shut that down when they feel pain. What are kind of some of the mechanisms, and why does that exist with us? Like, it gets down to the pain piece by itself.
The pain, so your brain is what tells you there is a problem. It's not that tissue. Let's say you ripped some tissue. Okay, well, yes, your brain is connected to that area. It's going to say there's a threat. I'm going to shut down that area so it can heal. I'm going to bring in white blood cells. I'm going to bring in prostaglandins, all these things to heal that area. Well then, okay, so that area heals, but you're still experiencing discomfort in that area. like let's say it's a disc that's torn, herniated. Well, that area is going to heal over 6 to 8 weeks because of blood, tissue, whatever. Then, and white blood cells and all the components that make our body, allow our bodies to heal, which is a miracle. It's a process. It's definitely a miracle. But why are you still experiencing pain? You has healed.
Good.
The movement pattern that caused that tissue to tear open.
Hey, we're
again.
back, team. We
All
tried
right.
to get so creative and go outside today to hang out so you can see beautiful San Diego, but not the easiest sometimes.
What I was also going to say about back pain, so tied into the breath.
Yeah. Point number 2.
So point number 2 is
We got through all of point number 1 on the first one.
pain can cause stress breathing, which is all through the chest. It can cause stress breathing, right? You want to protect that low back. It creates a more shallow breathing response, maybe even more shallow than you already have. So that, then that's going to increase tension in your body even more. That shallow breathing is going to cause a mechanical compromise in that low back, and it's not going to help relax tense muscles. Why do doctors give you muscle relaxers when you have back pain? Because inefficiency in breathing patterns, guarding muscles, and honestly, you can do your own muscle relaxation with breath work. So that's another huge component to helping yourself heal.
Yeah, I think one of the, or I guess there's so much that goes into the breath, and this being kind of misconception number 2 or misunderstanding number 2 that we're talking about in the three B's of back pain here, and we go into a ton of this in the ebook that Molly's got posted in the comments, but every session that we do on the program starts out with some breath work, and there's a lot of reasons why we do this. One being the down regulation piece, so that mindfulness piece and getting people to slow down, and it takes a lot of that emotional mental stress out of the tissues, and we can get into that rest and digest state. So often when we're working with people, they're coming from these either fitness programs or stressful jobs. Maybe when we're working with people that are in the afternoon, they're coming off this
Stressful day.
Yeah, stressful day. They woke up, they sat in traffic, they went to work, it was stressful, and then they came back, they sat in traffic, and then they get to the clinic, their training session, whatever it is. There's just stress everywhere. And the simplest thing that we can do is just get people to lay down on their back and start breathing properly. Instead of that stress breathing into our chest and panting all day, it just down regulates the nervous system, and we're able to really start movement pattern much easier because there isn't that tension built up all day long and then transferring that back into our movement patterns. So not only does it have this down regulatory piece to it, but we get to work on our abs. We get to learn how to breathe through our diaphragm. What are some of the benefits that get into that diaphragmatic breath? That's a big word to begin with. Break some of those pieces down.
So we're gonna get into it a little bit more tomorrow. This breath tactic, just so you know, you can practice it at work, at your desk. You want to practice start laying down. It'll be easier that way. But once you get it down, you can do it at work. And the thing about the breath is when it decreases tension in the musculature. So research shows even 5% more tension in the musculature can lead to chronic pain. So the mind perceives a threat. Relax the muscles. It relaxes the muscles. It also massages the viscera. So viscera meaning internal organs. So your diaphragm is right underneath that rib cage. Doing deep diaphragmatic breaths can massage that viscera, which is really nice and calming. The viscera is innervated by the lumbosacral segments, which is the parasympathetic segments. Right, your mid back is the sympathetic, the fight or flight, which is why massaging and breathing correctly to calm that area down is super important and allows you to reach the polar part of the sympathetic chain, which is your neck and lumbosacral region. So there's a lot of physiology that I could throw at you that can educate you about the breath, but you have to take the time to do it. And that is that's a habit change for a lot of you, slowing down.
The members, lots coming up this week on habit pattern interrupt, habit creation. Not all habits are bad ones. We can learn how to create good habits.
If you could take something, so Anders, if you knew that your life would change drastically you could change addicted personalities tension in your mind, and ultimately be a happier person through doing 10 minutes of breath work a day, would you do it?
Totally. I mean, I did do it. It's been a 2-year process,
but I'm asking now you guys, so he's been doing it. Would you guys be willing to do that?
I think that that's the biggest piece that we are working on with people, and it all starts, like, get in and download this ebook, because we are talking about all of these things here, and when you download the ebook, it starts to make a little bit more sense. You'll be able to get in and see some of the exercises that go along with it, how to work on the breath work practice, and why all this stuff matters in a little bit more depth. But the practicing of this thing, like, I never understood, and like I said, tomorrow at 8:30 when we sit down and actually talk about these pieces, but there's progressions to everything. So when we start talking to people about this breath work and this pattern interrupt, they think it's so hard, and there's nothing hard about 10 minutes just committing to it. Like, you're already in the gym, or you're already doing whatever it is that you're doing that's creating this pain on a daily basis. But if we can somehow create a way and a pattern so that you're showing up and doing the breath work on a daily basis, you start to realize that there's a base level to this stuff, and then we can start to progress. So the pattern interrupt is, stop doing the thing that's causing you a lot of pain. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe you're working out like a madman and you're looking for the perfect stretch and the perfect everything to get you through today's training session, but you had the long-term goals of this stuff, like, slow down a little bit, and how do we make this stuff last for a lifetime, and how do you learn the movement patterns, and how do you learn the doubt and regulation pieces so that you can heal yourself and you're not just running a car into the wall 1,000 miles an hour every single day and then trying to find the perfect stretch to make it all better. Slowing down a bit. And that kind of gets into this final piece. Another thing that we talk about all the time with people, we've even had this single leg deadlift challenge going on that we were working with the movement fix. And this piece is something that the balance piece is something to me that I love teaching to people, because they have no idea how often they use this balance piece and how complex of a system it is. But we can do it very simply. Like, a single leg deadlift is a great movement. We have this little challenge going on, but it's a piece where nobody realizes that their brain has to communicate with the bottom of their foot all day long, and these wires are going up and down, and we have the opportunity through training, through all these pieces, to have a much better connection between the brain, the body, the bottom of your foot, and work on that balance. I mean, people are petitioning their human resources department all day long to get their standing desk, yet as soon as they step away from that standing desk, they go to stand on one foot, they'll go walk. Try and walk with 2 feet on the ground at once. It's not possible. So we need to have these systems in place. You need to have the core stability just to be able to walk. And later this week, we're going to break down some of the form and movement techniques that are going on while you're walking. But when there's 3 fun pieces that we work with, this somatosensory, Google that one after we're done with this, if she doesn't answer any questions, but she's going to. Visual, so we've got our eyeballs looking straight ahead, side to side, peripheral, all that stuff that goes into balance. And then we've got these little bones in our ears, which is the vestibular system, right? So can we get some cliff notes on how all 3 of those work together?
Yeah, so balance, just to preface, is also one of the most atrophied systems, because we don't train it unless you go to a rehab.
Or you're on an awesome program called the Low Back Fix, where we do it all the time and help your life out.
So fall risk is a huge problem when you get as you age. But if you're talking about a young person who wants to lift more, right, or be healthier, well, if you have missing balance one side compared to the other, like a gross asymmetry, you're basically dumping power and you're biasing the side that you have better balance on. So you're always going to bias that side, and you don't even really realize it. Your brain is smart. It's gonna utilize the side that has better balance. So a lot of us have a single leg balance deficit. Now the thing is, because we don't walk around with our eyes closed, we're always using our vision to balance. So our vision, vestibular system, somatosensory, the ability to feel the ground, all have to integrate and work together. Now, usually as a young person, those systems aren't a problem. But as we age, we don't even realize that it atrophies over time, just like a muscle tissue can. So we have to train the system. But how do you train it? Well, the one system that integrates all three of those the most is the vestibular system. So we don't use the vestibular system a lot when we're just standing. That's more visual and somatosensory. But when we start to move, we use the vestibular system a lot, like 70%. And so what you need to do is train your balance eyes closed, but in a safe place where if you were to fall over, you have to push.
Don't hurt yourself.
But the important thing is that you don't not engage that system. So we have thrown into the low back program every day some kind of balance training. And you're going to improve your balance through strength training anyway, but how do you actually train that vestibular system? You have to close your eyes and do stuff.
Yeah.
So super important and not well understood.
Yeah, and it's also the basis to the program. So when you get into the program, and one of the best ways to do this, we talk about in the ebook that Molly has posted, so get in there and download that. But the best, or one of the baseline assessments that we are doing for this entire thing is standing on one leg, right?
Yes.
And then can you do it? So if we have all three of these pieces, we've got the bottom of the foot, the somatosensory piece, we've got the eyeballs looking forward for balance, and then we've got the vestibular system, the little bones in our ears that keep us balanced. We've got, if all three of those, the crystals.
In the ears.
I was about to tell my yogi story about the new moon crystals.
Not those kind of crystals. Not crystal meth either.
Yeah, don't do
that.
drugs.
The right kind. No, don't do it.
If we have all, you can hit the like button if you don't. So when we have all three of those systems working together and they work well, 100%, crushed it, right?
Yeah.
And you can stand on one leg very easily. And the goal of our assessment process when we're looking at balance is we want to take one of those away. So what happens when we close our eyes and now we're only operating at like 66% of our maximum capacity with this balance piece, and you'll start to notice very quickly how we need all three of those, and when you take away one of them, how much things change. And we still should be able to operate at that 67% and be able to stand on one leg, but you're going to find out, especially if you have back pain, that it's very hard to engage your glutes, it's very hard to find your core, all of these pieces that go into this thing, and now we've got a lot of problems, especially when we start to take away the balance pieces that we're working on. The whole world just signed up here. So how are we doing, team?
Yeah, so when
Theresa Ciulo, I haven't seen you in so long. I miss you. Come hang out.
When you guys close your eyes, that's when the vestibular system has to integrate, and that's a very atrophied system, especially as we age. But very important for building power. So on our program, the digital program, we offer many components to train that. You're going to be powerful human beings. Yeah. But the thing is, you need to do it in a progressive manner. And that's the nice thing, is we're not just going to make you stand, next to a bunch of knives with your eyes closed. But we are going to train the system both in a reactionary mode as well as non-reactionary mode. So you guys actually learn and have skills for the rest of your life. Yeah. So after doing this program, you have skills to keep your balance system in check, so you don't become a fall risk when you're 80, because you still should be lifting heavy, doing what you love. So
that's the thing. 3 B's of back pain. The biggest misconceptions that we're dealing with. Breathing. It's not your back. It's probably your glutes, probably your abs, probably some balance, and then balance, the number 3 one. So breath, balance. Make sure you get in and download the ebook. Molly has posted in the comments section. Tomorrow morning, we're going to do some breath work, and we're going to spend the first 10 minutes just talking about breath work. Whether you're at your desk or not, you can join us and put up a little meeting thing in your Outlook so everyone knows to leave you alone for 20 minutes. 8:30 to 9 o'clock.
We have a guest tomorrow morning too.
Oh, super guest tomorrow.
So I'm bringing my son, Magnus, who is the phenomenal, best belly breather out there. Babies are such good belly breathers and great movers. So we're gonna show you how awesome he is, and we're going to try to be like him.
Yeah. Every breath he takes is like his belly goes. It's so awesome.
He's so calm.
He does everything right. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Download the ebook, get into the program, learn how to balance, learn how to breathe. It's not your back. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.